Is Lee Matthew Jackson, and you are joining us for episode number 9 of the UI UX review, where we talk about content, we talk about site speed, and we talk about design. So welcome to episode 9. That rhymed. I'm really impressed with myself, folks. Today we have got 3 websites lined up that we're really excited to review. And the purpose of this review is to both learn from what people do well and also to highlight what we think may not be quite right and how we think it could be improved. This, however, is not just a broadcast. This is a conversation. So we would love it if you could get involved and send us some comments. Let us know what you think is right about these websites and what you think could be improved. And if you disagree with us, that's brilliant. Please let us know as well in the comments. Before we jump into the websites, however, it would be really great to get to know all of the Mavericks that we have with us. So let's start with Picha. And Picha, could you give us a little bit of an intro to the world of Picha?
Sure. So my name is Picha Neri. And I am Italian. I now live in Spain, but I used to live in London many formative years. So I'm a designer, and I love to talk about user experience and how we should all strive to center our sites and all of our products on the user. So that's what my role is here. And I'm very happy to be here again with my wonderful colleagues, Lee and Jan. But the funny thing, I'm so glad that you said, Lee, that we invite people to disagree if that's the case, because we disagree. Make no mistake. It's all healthy and you can learn. And also different point of view is a good thing. It's always a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you and I, for example, have disagreed multiple times on this live stream.
Absolutely.
And then
don't agree to disagree. How cheesy is that?
Right, Jan, give us an introduction to the world of Jan.
Yeah, so I am Jan. I'm in Germany, and I'm a WordPress developer. I have 2 dogs, so my wife and I have 2 dogs. We now have a daughter that's 8 weeks old, and I run some virtual summits in this space, namely the WP Agency Summit and the Ecom Services Summit.
Awesome. And my name is Lee. I run the Agency Trailblazer podcast, which you can check out on agencytrailblazer.com, and also a fellow Cloudways Maverick. So like I said, we've got 3 sites lined up, and you can check the notes of this live stream. You can also check the comments, but also I'm going to share with you all 3 URLs now, so you guys can go ahead and check out the websites. The first one we're going to be looking at is yakbot.site. So open that up in your browser, check it out, write down some of your thoughts, let us know in the comments. We've also got at athleticult.com coming up, and we also have Mr. how was the pronunciation?
Alabi.
Yeah. Alabi, Mr. Alabi as well, which is awesome, and we'll be checking out that site. So we are going to start with Yakbot, and I think we should go ahead with you, Picha, as we always do, just to get an initial design review. So you're happy to share your screen maybe, and then talk us through some of your thoughts, and I know some of what's to come.
Absolutely. So can I just ask before we go ahead, because we've had a few, and I'm always technically challenged these days because it's very hot where I am and my computer doesn't like it. So even though I crank up the aircon, so can someone share? I don't know if this is shared in my group, in the Design for Geeks group. So if someone could take care of that.
Yep, I'll do that.
That's right. Fantastic. Because I'm not sure, maybe it's being shared, but I just can't, nothing obeys me right now. So share screen, and we want Yakbot. There you go. So
alrighty.
I think my cats are gonna video bomb us. Actually, I'll have you know. Be ready. So Yakbot, this messenger chatbot that actually. So I am going to talk about the design, but in terms of what this does, I think we all think it's a great little plugin. It's a great little thing that looks super interesting. So I'm looking at different, a sort of a different viewpoints. And the first thing that I said when we decided we would do this was that it looks really similar to me. And then as I was, why? Because if you open this, it's one thing that's really nice about it. It's all this white space. So white space, guys, good thing. White space is a good thing. If you have the courage of having a lot of empty space, it's nice. It's not a bad thing at all. And also, you have these illustrations in the background. But at the moment, if you think about it, most tech products look like this. And especially, we sort of went on a little, search for other bots. And there are others that not only do they look similar, but they also use the same typeface, which is Poppins, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So am I still on? Yes.
You are. You're a bit blocky.
Freezing a little bit.
So yes, so that was my initial reaction. And because I'm so visual, and that's kind of what I do, so to me, it sort of dilutes the message a little bit. And also, if you...
Okay, so we've lost Peacher, which is fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen anyway, and we will continue. So I think what Peacher was saying was that this website is very samey. And weirdly enough, I said, I love it. I think this site is great. I really like the content of the site. I instantly know what this is about. I love these screenshots. I love the animation, etc. I think this site does what it says on the tin. If we were to scroll down, well, let's just take a look. I can see that this is providing me a chatbot. I've got a call to action. I can get straight away involved, and I can see some of the use cases as well here. So I thought that was a real good move. I could also see what their kind of key features were, key things that I would be able to use, and I'm especially drawn to cart abandonment. I'm selling online products and online events, same as Jan. We don't want people to abandon their cart, and if they do, we want to try and get involved in a conversation. So we really thought that a lot of these things. I'll carry on for a second, and I'll hand back over to you, Peacher. I thought a lot of these things were really great as content, but what Peacher pointed out was that yes, this is all great as content, but what about the brand? This looks the same as anything else. Peacher, do you want to take over?
Sure. So yes, that was my immediate reaction because let's look at the trends that we've got here. The sans serif, but very friendly typeface. Yeah, exactly. This is many. It looks exactly the same. It looks exactly the same. So you've got a sans serif, sort of friendly, quite chunky, like plump typeface that is very friendly, but still because it's sans serif, it looks modern and tacky. Then you have the color, which this is purple, so it's a little bit better than blue, but usually it's blue. If you go to ManyChat, it's blue. It's kind of that blue. And then you have the vector illustrations. They don't really they don't do much other than give a bit of texture, a bit of depth. They don't do anything else. So even though it's really nice and I love the white space, I don't know when I went off earlier. I was saying that the white space is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. And thank you very much, Yakbot, for aligning to the left your call to action and your main paragraph. But I think that there's a little bit too much space between. The line height is a bit too high here. And also another thing that that those who know me know already I don't like is, even though these are not terribly upsetting, these animations that don't stop, but there's no reason why they should. They do nothing. They just irritate slightly. These are not. They don't make me sick as they usually do, but it's slightly irritating. Why are they even moving? And the funny thing is,
because I like the cute little robot as well, by the way. So this is appealing to me. Sorry.
Appealing, but why is it moving? It's fine as usual. Keep them moving, but give me the option to stop them. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, maybe move them on hover or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly. So agreeing. So these images have got more personality, and that's nice. They're sort of bigger, chunkier. I love the colors, but still, it's a template that now all tech companies seem to follow. They all look exactly the same. So do you remember when MailChimp rebranded? And they went yellow. They went with huge illustrations. That was different branding. It was still apt. It was still what. It was still good, but it was very different. So it looks different. So now I think they've slightly changed again. It was much more yellow, but this is distinctive. I don't know why they've gone so pale. It was super bright yellow, and I actually loved it. But there you go. It's a little bit different. And
It
and
reminds
you
me of
can't
the
stop.
Dropbox. It reminds me of the Dropbox rebrand. Sorry to interrupt. When
Yeah.
Dropbox announced their new design and I came to Dropbox.com for the first time after that, I thought the site was hacked. That's how radical the design was. I didn't log in because I was afraid. I was seriously afraid.
Wow. So that's not a bad thing. So bad MailChimp, that illustration that doesn't stop. That is just bad. That is bad. There will be people that will not like that. That's not accessible. Your animations, unless there's a very good reason why they don't stop, they must stop. And also here, so it's quite funny because before when I posted in my group about this live, I said, we're going to do this review. Lee and Jan are going to talk about content and speed and technical stuff. And I'll say the usual two things that I always say, which is don't center and don't, stop that animation. And that is again. So I don't like center text. You shouldn't center. There's no reason why you should center it. Can you go back to that bit? So basically, center text, I'll say it again for those who have been under a rock for the past, couple of years and haven't heard me say it yet. It means that it's quite hard for the eye to follow there's no anchor, there's no left hand anchor for the eye. So it's quite difficult to jump from one line to the next. And even for someone who is in the so-called normality, not that there is any such thing as normality, but if you're for instance dyslexic, it's really problematic. And also I have this thing that I see shapes. So for instance here in the auto reply bots, to me that is a like a vessel, that's a bowl. That's what I see. I just see shapes. Sometimes I see a fish, sometimes I can't help it, I don't read, I see the shape first. So that's why I don't like centered.
Are my eyes off, or is the text not really centered below the images? It seems like it's slightly shifted to the left.
Exactly. So you have that problem. And then also what you do is that then if the rest of the text is aligned to the left,
I think it's an illusion.
Why even do that?
No, but it's not centered.
And that's
another not centered. It's this image is not centered inside of the circle.
Yeah.
So that's creating the illusion that this isn't centered.
So yet again, that's an issue. That's an issue that you get with centered alignment, which I also call the non-alignment. And especially if you then do use left alignment, it makes no sense. There's a real sense of this order and this unity. Mm. So I would recommend that, you look how nice and clear that is. It's just super nice, super clear. That's perfect, by the way.
Yeah.
That is perfect. You've got your text hierarchy done perfectly well with bolding what really the most important thing. Then you've got your paragraph a bit smaller, and then you've got land more a bit smaller but bold, so you can still see it. So that's perfect. That paragraph there is perfection. And then my last thing is that the Yakbot logo looks like it's been done in Google Docs, because it's a different typeface. It's not the typeface that they're using, which is Poppins Google typeface. Now
it would look better with that sort of typeface, kind of the Poppins.
Yeah, why not? Just make it
heavy or something along those lines along there.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just really simple. Keep it like that. You've got your cute little bot. Do that, and then just use Poppins, I would say. But just I want to say, I don't want to have sounded too critical, because I think this is the way they've done the content. Now Lee's going to go on that, but Yakbot, that's great. And I'm really interested in the plugin. That's just great. But it gave me the opportunity to point out how this trend now needs, because it's always, same thing, vector illustrations, purple or blue, and Poppins or equivalent typeface. That's what it usually is. So just an invitation to maybe go somewhere else with it. But otherwise, great little bot that I am looking forward to trying out.
Awesome. No, thanks for that. And you missed this bit. What I was also saying, Peter, was what I liked about the content was things like I could see my use cases here straight away. I could also see and resonate with my use cases here. So I thought there was good content. Other things I've not mentioned yet, though, is good idea having free courses.
That's
and
brilliant.
I love this. that you
I
can
love
instantly
that.
go and learn something. So that's good. You're leading with value, and people can learn something quick. I did have one
That's
thing though on the
excellent
content
UX.
that I wanted to ask you about, Peacher, which is this pricing table, which I think kind of is almost pointless because everyone
Yeah,
gets
it's all the
everything.
same.
The only difference is this number here. And I didn't know if you thought of any
Okay.
other way that might be changing
Yeah.
that might be able to change it up. Apart from here, where you're only allowed one account. Here you can have multiple accounts. Up
There's
to
a
3
Yeah.
typo in the
10.
professional price, I think. It's
Okay.
Pro.
97.99, where I think it should be 99.97.
Yeah, so it's not
Okay.
one thing I haven't said, and for the sake of fairness, I should say it. In terms of UX, it's a really nice site. So I haven't even said that. I've sort of niggled on the interface because it's got really good UX. To be fair, this kind of the features tables are so hard because you do want to show the features. I mean, this to me is way too small. But if the only difference, if you're offering everybody the same features, you want to list them. Obviously, you want to list them. But if there's only one basic difference, then you should probably concentrate on that. And actually, because otherwise, why would I go for that? Just highlight why, in what case scenarios, it would be better for me to use one type of account rather than the other.
Drip.com, which is probably not going to load now, is it? But was it Drip? So if I go to pricing, something like this potentially is better, isn't it? Where you've got all of your features, and then I'm simply seeing my price change depending on how many accounts I want.
Perfect. That's
So if
it.
we've got-
That's your solution.
Yeah, so something along those lines might be better, which would be a thought. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of it then. So we've kind of
Great
shared
point.
then both design, UX, and content all at the same time, just to help cover when your internet dropped out. Would be wonderful, Jan, if you don't mind jumping in and just providing us a little bit of insight into the way this site has been built. So, is it fast? Are they using good practices?
Yep.
Are there things we can learn from them, or things they could improve?
Absolutely.
All right. Oh, and I have to hit a button, don't I? Sorry. There you go.
No
I see
worries.
a red. Oh no.
Yeah, and actually, it's a nice example of seemingly bad scores not representing a bad loading time, because 4 seconds is, while it's not amazing, it's not as bad as the F might make you think it is. So there are a few things that you can ignore in these GT metrics. Suggestions, which are serving scaled images. This is one you cannot ignore, because the first one, or the first few ones, the first 4 ones are pretty good. They save quite a bit of bandwidth for you, but then the other ones you can ignore. Optimize images. A good way to assess whether you should optimize the images or not is by how much data you can actually save in the size of your site. And that's giving you 70 kilobytes in data on a 3.8 megabyte site. So that's negligible. That's nothing. Don't waste your time with this and just accept the F.
So interesting.
These
are the things that...
Yeah, sorry, Peacher, go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, these are the things that is so difficult to get clients to understand, aren't they? Because they go, oh, it's enough, and you're like, no, but. So this is so useful to know that this is the answer that you can give them.
Yeah. Also, if you have a client who's obsessing about the page speed scores, make them always look at the times. Don't have them look at the Fs or Ds or Cs, but make them look at the seconds. That's the only metric that matters in the end. And that is, if your client doesn't understand that, it's probably not the best client to work with in the first place. What you should take care of here, though, is the slider revolution assets. You should defer those in loading so that they don't block the rendering. And what that does, very likely, is just makes the animation start a bit later. So that's probably even a bonus on your end, Peacher.
Yeah, why is there a slider even?
Yeah, because of the animations.
So there you go. Don't have Slider rev is evil.
Yeah,
It's
I would
really
assume
evil.
that this entire main section here is revolution slider. And that is because when I inspect it, I see that the height of the section adapts to the height of the browser width of the browser. So
Yeah.
I would assume that it's just a full height slider. In here, I didn't check the HTML, and I won't go into it because that's not leading us anywhere here. But these animations surely are revolution slider. And if you just replace that with an image and don't have the animations, your site loads faster immediately.
And dump the slider. Why
Yeah.
why have it? It's such a clunky plugin, isn't it?
And then one last thing I would look into is reducing the time to first byte. So it takes around 400 milliseconds for a browser to connect to your server, which usually is something with the domain registrar and the host that you want to look into. Maybe there's some conflicts, or maybe it's not the ideal combination of where you have your domain and where you host the site. And then it takes 1.3 seconds for your website to start sending data. And that always indicates a very messed up database and very heavy background processing going on. So that can be AJAX requests, for example. Gets a bit technical here, but essentially what you want to do is you want to declutter your database using the WP Optimize plugin. That's a good one for this. And you want to make sure that you don't have too many AJAX calls going on at the same time. And there is I think it's called the cron manager plugin. Let me just Google that real quick. Advanced cron manager is a good plugin that you can install for free, and you can check whether your crons are decluttering or are cluttering up your database and your processor.
I found that. Is that it? Advanced Cron Manager?
Yep.
On screen. Awesome.
Yep.
That's really helpful. Do you mind if I then quickly jump in on mobile before we go on to our next site? So just real quick on mobile then, there's a few obvious things here. You've got a misalignment of your search icon. Your logo there is crushed. And then unfortunately throughout, a lot of these images don't really work. These are now starting to overlap and they've not automatically crunched down. You can also see things like we've got text touching, and I think we've even got text going off screen in some places, and we've also got the images going off screen. So I won't
which is revolution slider.
Yeah,
by the way.
So I won't spend any more time on that, other than this definitely needs some treatment for mobile, especially yes, sorry.
Yeah, no, just I was saying, just simplify. You don't need all this, because also your content is great. So just simplify. Think Apple is what do you remember my sort of talk on branding, when I just say, think, when in doubt, think about Apple. That, they have products that have literally nothing on them. They have pages with nothing on them. There's no need, because your product is really good. So take out all the things that you don't need, because that's fun. I mean, slider rev is a nightmare to make responsive. So that would be my recommendation, to simplify. And actually, on mobile, a lot of people sort of think that by default, centered is fine on mobile. And while it is a bit better, because shorter lines don't go like this, don't have hugely different lengths, so it's a little bit better. But what happens is that then you end up having zero alignment, no alignment at all on mobile. So because you notice the alignment even more when on mobile. So I would just say simplify it.
Absolutely.
Sorry to have interrupted.
No problem. If in doubt, think Apple, folks. We're going to take a look at another website, and I want to talk about this for a minute or two, folks, and then we'll jump into... I think we should kind of flip it on its head. Are you prepared with some site speed stuff for this one as well, Jan? And then we'll close...
Of course.
Yeah, cool. So let's do it upside down, just for fun. I do want to talk about the content of this site, and particularly the lack of. Now, we launched with this video here, which doesn't tell me what this is all about. Now, yes, this might be a very strong brand, so I haven't considered that. This could be a strong brand that everyone's aware of, and they're just coming to this website to get in touch. However, I didn't notice the first time I visited this a few days ago that there is a little menu snuck up here, which would allow me to go and get in touch. So at the moment, I kind of felt like you weren't doing yourself much justice with this very thin strip menu, because my attention was instantly drawn to this video. Then when I scroll down, I'm again not really sure what's going on with this website. Some of these images look like stock, so we've got a combination of I think this is real and then stock, or they could be actually images you've taken. But I just don't know what this is all about. I can see some workshops, which I think are probably your most important thing, right at the very bottom of this page, with a few menu items here at the bottom. So content-wise, I'm not an SEO expert. We should probably bring one in as well, but I don't know what this is about. There's nothing compelling for me other than this video of people that's going to draw me in and help me understand what it's about, why I should be interested in Athletic Cult, and even why I should be interested in the workshops. So I did feel that the homepage kind of let you down. On the flip side, you are at least showing what's going on, and that is a massive plus of being able to show what's going on, who you are. This sets my expectation. If I've already heard of Athletic Cult and I'm seeing something like this video, it's set my expectation. I know what to expect. I know who I'm going to be working with, etc. So that was a good thing. Now on the workshops page itself, this was much cleaner, and you do actually go into a little bit of detail. So you kind of split up what the key 3 areas are that you have, and then I can then drill in again furthermore to get some more information. Peter, I mean, I quite like this kind of zebra stepped approach. You can probably talk on it later on. You also have a video. So these are the sorts of things that I then started to enjoy. And I just thought it was a shame that this sort of content wasn't available in the main website, or I couldn't kind of see some of these previews from the main landing page. Finally, just on the contact page as well. So let's just pop along to contact. This kind of, again, felt a little bit of a letdown. I would love to have known what were some of the reasons that I should be connecting with you. And also, where are you? I'm not sure if this is a place I can physically go to or if this is an online program. So there was nothing to do with where are you. So that was kind of my thoughts just on the overall content. On the flip side, like I said, positives with the video, etc. If I was a fitness person, which I clearly am not, I know I would be attracted to these pictures. I would want to be involved. I want to get involved in these workshops, etc. So a very big positive there. But Jan, I'm interested, which is selfishly, I've asked you to come on first. I'm interested in what these videos and everything are doing to site speed. So can I switch to your screen and you carry on?
Yep. Let's do it.
What? I did not expect. Well, I did expect the 8 seconds, but I did not expect those grades. We're in.
Yeah, it's the perfect counterpart to the first website. We have amazing scores, and the fully loaded time is through the roof. So that's really nice. On the video, it's actually making me motion sick. So I cannot look at it for too long because of all the animations and overlays and stuff and the cuts going on. Back to site speed. As we have 90% and 93%, GTmetrix doesn't come up with many recommendations for us because it thinks the site is working really, really well, which clearly it's not. The surf-scaled images, again, you can ignore that when you look at the data that you can save, which is next to nothing here. Even though it says 97% reduction, if that still results in less than 40 kilobytes, why even bother? It's really not worth it. Defer parsing of JavaScript is a good one to give us a hint of what we need to work on, but it's not actually the deferred parsing that we need to work on in this case. What it says is that we should load the reCAPTCHA script deferred. So reCAPTCHA is an anti-spam tool for contact forms and stuff like that. If we look at the homepage, if I remember correctly, yes, I do, there is no contact form. So why load reCAPTCHA on the homepage? This is the thing that you need to work on, and that is where you need to interpret the results that these scans give you. You cannot just take them for granted. It doesn't make sense to load this reCAPTCHA JavaScript file and the other reCAPTCHA resources here. Even if you load them asynchronously, it doesn't make sense to load them on the homepage in the first place because they don't do anything. So that is what you need to work on. And we talked about the asset control plugin multiple times in these webinars before. Coming to the video, let's look for the video and see what I have to say about this. So there is an MP4 file, and you can see the URL. Let me just zoom in a little bit.
I was gonna say I can't see the URL.
Yeah, it seems a bit small. Is it better now? Do you see it now?
Yep.
Brilliant. So that is likely the Cloudways CDN. That's the stack path collab that Cloudways has going on. And the video file is quite small. So you have like 300 kilobytes. For a video, that's pretty solid.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. However, I'm not sure if you should host it yourself or if you should try hosting it on Vimeo or YouTube or whatever, or Vistia for the sake of professional hosting, because I think it could be a bit faster from those services rather than the 2.38 seconds it takes from your own server.
You know what the fastest thing would be?
Not having a video?
No video, yes. I'll get there in a minute. Sorry,
No,
shut up now.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room, though? And that's that 8.5 seconds.
Yeah. So the
what's
8.5
cause of that?
seconds. Yeah, let's look into the timings. The 8.5 seconds actually have a different cause than on the first page. On the first page, the time to first byte sucked. On this page, it is really, really
Quite
good.
instant. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is really impressive. Good job on doing this. However, it takes quite a bit of time for the CDN to start sending the files and then for the browser to actually paint the files. So that is the on-load time. That is when the page appears to be fully loaded, even though it's still doing stuff in the background. What you want to do is, if you don't have global traffic coming in, I would ditch the CDN, to be honest, because I don't think you need it. And I think that all these various requests to various domains, so we have ethical.com, then we have the domain of the stackpath DNS, then we have Cloudflare going on, we have Google APIs going on, we have google.com, we have fonts.gstatic.com, then we have other requests to stackpath again. So this is quite messy, and usually you want to have as few domains being loaded as possible to load your website.
Right.
I would get rid of the CDN if you don't really need it, or I would try a different provider. So I use, for my summons, I use Bunny CDN, which is working really well.
How do we spell that?
Like the bunny and then CDN.
Bunny.
Bunny.
Yep. Carry on, I'll find it and put the link up.
That's a really nice one. You also have Facebook going on here. So that is like, I haven't looked into what Facebook/TR is doing, but that is not adding much weight to the overall loading time. So you can see these yellow bars, these purple bars, sorry, that you need to look into. And those mostly come from the stackpath CDN resources. And they say that it's waiting time. So the GT Google Tag Manager script, for example, has a waiting time of 1.93 seconds. It's just waiting. Nothing is happening in those 1.93 seconds. So this is the point where you need to work on. And I would try different CDNs. I would try maybe setting up a custom domain for a CDN if you really need it, and see if that speeds up the loading time. But I would just focus on the CDN to see the biggest results. Don't touch anything else.
And we'll head on over to you, Peter, in a second. Just one last question then, or one last clarification, sorry, Jan. So what we're saying is a CDN is mainly if you have a global site with global traffic. So WP Mastery, you get global traffic, you need a CDN to be able to serve large files, etc., to different countries, different areas. However, if Athletical is in a very specific area, and their clients are from, say, 100-mile radius,
if it's a local gym, for example.
They don't need a CDN. That's like a sledgehammer for a nail.
A CDN essentially is a way to distribute your site geographically on the world, so that when my site is hosted in a data center in London, for example, and somebody in New York tries to load it, the data isn't traveling from London to New York, but it's traveling from a data center in New York to the browser of my visitor. That's essentially a CDN.
Right. Shall I share my screen again? And so we don't want, and you can give us.
Let's not run the risk of me falling off the radar again.
No problem.
Yes. So I am with Jan on this. This is basically it's a very long animation that I can't stop. But unlike, and it actually is, I've been watching looking at it for a while, and I am. It's completely making me sick. I totally understand why you would want to have this here, because I see the value of it. So I am quite sporty. I see the things that they do. I'm like, yeah, that's one of the moves that I'm working on. I want to do that. So this is interesting to me, but I'm already sick. It's just, and I can't stop it. There is no way for me to stop this. So can you actually, and I'm not joking, can you scroll down, Lee? Because I can't. Okay, good. So, and another thing that I want to say is, because this time I will.
Sick balls.
So it looks great. Don't get me wrong. It looks great because you've managed to have everybody in the shot is good looking, but they all look normal. Do you know what I mean? It's not, you're not going, oh God, that's stock. It's not stock. Those are real people, but they're all really fit. So
I wasn't sure if that was stock, those style ones.
No, it's them. Look, oh my God,
think?
that's amazing. Yeah. This is fantastic. I love it. It's totally up my street. And what she's doing here, this upside down thing, that's one of my goals. Not the end of the year, I won't get there, but sometime soon. So, this is I am target audience. So, but something that I do want to point out is that one of the first things that I look at when we do these reviews is like, we land on the above the fold, so to speak. So the thing that you land on, the part of the page that you land on, what is there for me to do? Nothing. You're telling me nothing. Of course, I understand what it is about because of the images, but you're telling me nothing about what do you want me to do? Why am I here? What do you want me to do? What's your aim? And that's the one thing that most sites don't do. And we always say it, don't we? What is the one thing that you want the visitor to do?
Yeah.
It's not there. So, and as Lee was quite rightly saying, the other thing that I've noticed, I was doing a review in WP Builds with Nathan Wrigley last week. And again, it was like 2 or 3 sites that need for people to know where they're located, and there is no location. And as you were saying, Lee, if because there's a certain amount of this type of workshop that can be done online, can I do it online? Can I not? Where are you? The only thing that gives me a vague clue as to where they are, because it's not on the content page, it's nowhere, is on the top. If you go back up to the top of the page, tiny, tiny, tiny on the left above the logo. No, yes, or in the menu at the bottom, there's a tiny, tiny, tiny Israeli flag. And if you hover over it, it will say Hebrew. So you can get the Hebrew site. So that's what, there you go.
I
so
assumed this was America the whole time.
I think it is. I think it is. When you look into the privacy policy, they show an address in New York.
Oh, okay.
So it's perfectly possible that they have an audience, a Hebrew-speaking audience. But also another point there for accessibility and UX, you need to you should never have an icon apart from the fact that those icons are way too small. And if language is an important one, make it way bigger. And also never have an icon that doesn't also have the text. So if you have the flag, you also need the word Hebrew. And there's a longer conversation to have about this, because about flags looking the same, or people who have color blindness issues, unable to recognize flags. I can't remember. I'm Italian, and I get really confused if I see an Irish or a Mexican flag. And so you need that as well. And also the flag doesn't mean Hebrew, does it? It doesn't. That's not what the flag means. It doesn't mean the language. So those are things to consider. But I would say no call to action here. No way for me to know what exactly you're offering me with this website. What do you want me to do? And so you're not helping your user, but also you're cutting yourself out of business. Because think of one thing that you want them to do, and everything else will follow. What's the main problem that you saw with its website? It looks like it's the workshops. So what happens if you go on the I love the checkerboard thing here. So visually this site is stunning. It looks great. Love it. The site is great. I love the checkerboard. I love how it leads the eye. Nothing is centered. Yes. No, actually, no, it is. I'm lying. Learn active flexibility. That badge is centered. But
But they work.
The important information isn't sent. And also when it's short text like that, it's less. It'd be nicer if you were aligned to the text. But so and I am your target audience. You don't even know how much. So it gives me, great pleasure to look at this. But so in that sense, I love, alternating images like this. It looks tidy, it leads the eye, it lets me, the information is super clear. There's a really nice balance between heavy and less heavy and so on. And maybe you could have, I'm not saying, have the videos, okay, the athletical team in action, have the videos, but give the option of turning them off. So maybe the workshop is what you want people, as we were saying, to contact you about. Then have it on the homepage. And also tell us where you are. I want to go to your workshop. How do I find out where you are? There's literally nowhere. The contact page doesn't have it, does it?
I would say you need a booking system in some way or form, because when I try to book a workshop, it just takes me to the general contact page where there's no information whatsoever, and I've probably already forgotten what type of workshop I want to sign up for because I don't remember the name of the workshop. So
it's not that difficult. There are many ways that you could do it. I mean, I'm sure Jan,
a lot of third parties as well, isn't there?
So many.
Ideally, or the most simple way is to embed a contact form on that workshop page directly and just pre-fill the name of the workshop and the times you usually hold these workshops. And where.
And where. Yeah. But otherwise, I mean, from the aesthetical point of view, it looks great. It's really nice.
Yeah, this is my favorite style of pages.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
And I just realized the logo is these two guys on their hands. So when you scroll down to the video, Lee, on the shirt of that woman in the video, you can see the logo, and that's the two on their hand. So that's a really nice logo.
And I mean, it's amazing. Those are
cool.
live.
I like that.
Yeah, because that's, I mean, that photo looks so beautiful. I mean, all my admiration. So
They've had some great photography in here. That's a definite plus there as well. I noticed something.
It looks real. It looks real. It doesn't look like this is unattainable. It looks real people doing real stuff.
I noticed something on mobile, by the way, just as we're coming to land on this one, that you can't see the menu in mobile hardly. So it's very, very difficult to see. And those to click on with my fat fingers when I tried on my actual phone, it was very hard. It was a lottery as to whether I was going to go to Instagram or to Facebook because I couldn't quite get central. So, but otherwise, it actually looks quite nice on mobile, nice structured. That's what you were referring to, isn't it? That image.
Amazing.
For the logo. So yeah, this is overall really good. But thanks for that. Folks, we've got one last site. Don't forget, if you are watching with us live, then please share your opinions. Also, if you're watching the replay, please share your opinions as well, because we still come back here and we check out what you're all talking about. Now then, we're going to look at one more site. And as you are in your flow, Peter, shall we keep going with you and you share with us some of the thoughts you have for Alabi here?
Yes, Alabi. So lots that's nice here, but I mean, you guys know me so well. I feel like you should
just
say
don't
it,
say
not
it.
me.
Right. So let's just cover it off. There's two things Peter is about to say. Number one, centered, and number two, using this animation going on here. So next.
I'm going to contradict myself slightly, though. I mean, because when it's as simple as this and it's like 3 lines, it's not. You can center it. It's not like a disaster to center this.
You set me up to fail there.
But just to vary it a little bit. So also this type of animation is a bit like the slider concept. So you will hear everybody saying that you shouldn't have a slider. One of the reasons why is that it's like you're undecided on what you want to show. And again, you're undecided. What are you? And also, again, it makes me motion sick. I mean, I had the 2 tabs with the previous site, and this one I was like, God, I can't look at any tabs right now because they're both. So what are you? What is the thing that you want people to work with you about, because you're like, what awesome. Yeah, I know. I mean, who isn't? Unique. We all are. So those are not really helpful. Flexible may be interesting, but in what way? So how do you actually help me? Because website designer, IT consultant, we understand you. We are all these things, but you need to decide on one thing that you offer. And I think that, Lee is nodding, because it's the same thing that we say. This applies to content and to UX. Just one thing. The one thing that I was saying earlier for the fitness website, you need to decide on one thing that you want to do. This is confusing to me, to any client. What I like is I create products that I love and believe in, want to do something cool together. That's really nice. That's sort of, friendly, and like it makes me want to think, but what products? I mean, obviously digital products, and it could be a digital product, could be a website or an app or a plugin. It could be many things. Which ones? What are we talking about? Because are you creative or are you a developer? I mean, I'm a creative. I can code a little bit, but I'm not a developer. Do you know what I mean? So let's specify that. What I always do, if you remember, when there is a call to action, I usually go for it. So I want to see what happens if we click on let's talk. Also, one thing that I'm gonna say it later. So there's a little bit of a contradiction here, because you said let's talk, and then here you say contact me. There's one little, and also I noticed at the top in the menu it said talk to me. Which is which? So you need to have a consistent message. That's a really important part of good UX, that your copy is consistent, because this is like, okay, contact me now. So we're not going to talk, are we? And then the top is again different. So contact me, then there's no way for me to actually talk to you. So you're saying let's talk, but I can't talk to you because you are giving me the option to email you or find you on Facebook, on socials, or fill contact form. So it's not true that I can talk to you.
Tiny as it gets, the fill contact form. It should be a huge button.
And again, I'd like you to notice, guys, that was
look at that.
That's
fill contact form takes me out to another page, different weight there, and then the contact form's hidden down here.
Exactly, but
so I've clicked to go to a contact form, and I'm taken to a new page, which then mirrors the talk to me, which you mentioned a second.
Is a different message?
So it's been talk, contact, talk, but I'm expecting a form, but I find it down here.
Can you go back to? Can you go back? So if you think about, earlier, we saw like 3 sites that used Poppins and Blue, and here we are just, this is stack again. This is stack, and it's Poppins and Blue, on white. So I think we have a point with a trend that might be changed by now.
We didn't select the websites on purpose to make that point, just as an aside.
Yeah,
we just realized in the preparation before this.
Yes, exactly. So, and also it's very small. I like you to contact me for more information about any of my services. Do you explain? I'd like to see whether this converts, because if you want someone to contact you, well, generally speaking, in most cases, if they know so little about you, they're probably not going to contact you. I would be really curious to find out whether this converts for you at all, Olabi, or not. I have a feeling that it might not, because I contact you, but I don't know what your services are. Is there anywhere where I can find out the services? Can we have a look?
Nope.
There is. So if we go up to the top,
my services
there, which takes you to
okay, there you go. Okay, again, they're very tiny. See what I mean? That they're not aligned. So I can see there's a rocket here. Website design custom. That's a rocket. Here I see that's a fat vase. Do you see what I mean? Those are the shapes that I see. So these, lists need aligning. Never not left align a list. Centered lists are really bad. So you can say here, but actually it's a bit small for me. I'm going to make my window bigger. But And then again, there you have a different call to action, which is get started. What happens if we go there? Which is in a different color, completely different color from what we've seen before. So I think you should make your colors uniform. Fill the forms below and select the services. Okay.
Sorry, I zoomed in.
Okay. Yeah. Project manager. Tell me something brief about the project. So when you build a form, this is kind of all right, but the services that you list are super long, and here you only specify 4. Again, there isn't actually no, those were, we had 4 columns for services, so possibly that's consistent, in which case that's great, fine. But you should always make it as easy as possible for people to fill in a form, and people normally don't want to write. You can't ask them, make it as easy as possible for them to get in touch with you without having to write. I don't think it's mandatory, it's required, so probably people can skip the message. But I'd be interested in how much your forms convert. If they do, then great. But generally speaking, my experience tells me that when people land on your website for the first time, they're hardly ever ready to speak to you already or get in touch and ask about your services. So yeah, that would be interesting. But awesome. I would also like a bit more consistency, because we've got like black or whatever it is, which I think this is fine. It is definitely, I think this is, we haven't checked on the contrast checker, but this is, I'm sure it's accessible. So this is really nice, but then you change the colors completely. So I'm confused, because this is pink and blue, and then you go to green and orange and brown. So make the branding consistent in that sense. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I think I've said most of what I had to say.
That's really helpful. So Alabi, the big one on consistency of message and also the user journey, because it is quite piecemeal. However, I would like to talk a little bit as well about the content. First of all, I really love the font. I haven't checked what it is, but it looks like Nonito or something along those lines.
Yeah,
I love those rounded fonts. But on the content, and I want to pick up on the point of I'm awesome, I'm a creative, I'm an IT guy, etc. What I'd be really interested in, and it's something that I share on the podcast, is actually help me understand who you work with. So who is it that you work with the best? Who's your customer avatar? Because when I show up as a potential customer, I want to know that I'm the right customer for you. Therefore, who do you specialize in, or what problem do you specialize in solving, etc.? So help me understand who it is that you work best with. Because right now, if I come to this, I can see that you're an IT person, a developer, a consultant. I can see that you offer some services, but I don't know if you're the right fit for me or if I'm the right fit for you. If this said that you specialize with real estate agents, or you specialize with software as a service companies, or you solve a particular problem for project managers, I'm throwing things in the air, but if you've got something that you are really kind of niched into, focused on, that you do real well, then you can make that your messaging, and that will draw in the right client. So that's all I'm really going to say on the content for this website. We need to know what problems you solve, who you solve them for, so that will resonate with the people. I've used this example a few times. When you tell people what you do, it's very similar to a real estate agent saying on their website, hey, I put signs in your front garden and pictures of your house in the newspaper. If that was the message on a real estate agent's website, that's not going to compel you to sell your house with that realtor. However, if you really need to sell your house quickly and you land on a realtor's website and it says, we help you sell your house in 15 days or less. Wow, I really want to know what this realtor can do for me, and I'm hooked in, and I know I'm their target audience because I've got that problem. I need to sell fast. They've hooked me in. I want to go ahead and have a contact with them. So what's your kind of your target audience? Who do you want to appeal to, and who do you want to make go, wow, I need a Alabi? And with that, let's talk about speed with the young, the handsome Mr. Jan. Ooh, we have a middle of the ground one here. So we've gone F, A, and now we're in the B's.
Yep, exactly. And one thing that you immediately notice is that the number of requests gets this red arrow down. And I think the first page had that too, but I skipped over that on the first one. So this means that you need to combine your JavaScript and your CSS files. Usually that's what it means. And essentially what you can do is you can bring all the style sheets and the CSS into one big file rather than having multiple small ones, which in theory speeds up the loading time. It also can break your site, so be sure to test it on a staging environment. But since you are offering WordPress services and website design, I'm pretty sure that you know how to do this properly. One thing that, especially when talking about websites of professionals, I will be the first one to admit that my own site is not as optimized as I would like it to be because I'm too busy. And I assume that's the same situation here. In this case, the serve scaled images can save us up to 10% of the overall page size, and it's just 6 images. So I would definitely implement those recommendations. We also see that the images are not hosted on mralabi.com, which is something I'll talk about in a minute. But beforehand, I want to again showcase an example of where we need to interpret the recommendations made. And that's again something that is said as leverage browser caching. But if we browser cache a script or multiple scripts that don't need to load on a page, what's the point of caching them in the first place? And I don't even know why you would have Paystack on the website, because I didn't find any way to purchase from you. And I assume this is just a payment provider because it says checkout.paystack.com. So given that there is no purchase functionality from what I've seen in my analysis, I would just get rid of these. And then there are some assets that by default you cannot browser cache, so you cannot get this to 100%. And those are the Google Tag Manager.com script and the Google Analytics.com, assuming you remove Paystack stuff. And that is because you don't have control over these scripts if they are hosted on the Google servers. What you can do is you can host them locally. And if you Google host Analytics.js locally, then you can find tutorials on how you can do this, but it would be way off the radar to do it now in this scope. Then what I would excuse me, what I would like to show is the waterfall. And I would just like to scroll through this really quick, because when you scroll through this list, the waterfall chart, the timings are all very evenly distributed. So that's usually a good sign of a well-built page. However, what I would do in these cases is I would look for outliers. So here is a bar that is reasonably longer than all the bars surrounding it. So I would check what's the difference with this image over to the other images. And you can see that it's hosted on a different domain. So that's i0.wp.com, whereas the other ones have i1 and i2. And these domains come from the Jetpack optimize images function, or speed up images is what they call it, I think, where essentially the Jetpack plugin is outsourcing the images, if you will, is moving the images to their own infrastructure, to their own servers to speed them up. I've rarely seen this work, to be honest. So I avoid the Jetpack plugin like the plague, to be honest. If it's working for you, that's fine, but I would try to not use the Jetpack plugin and see how the site loads then. Because in this case, you have a 731 millisecond waiting time where Jetpack is not doing anything. So that is time that your site could be loading faster in. Then we have two.
You know what? Someone in my sorry, Jan.
Yeah,
someone in my group was asking. Someone in my group was asking yesterday why Jetpack is hated by developers. And there you go. You have an answer. Well, hated, disliked.
Yeah.
Let's say disliked.
It's just one example. Jetpack is too bloated. It does too many things, and it does few of these things really well. So as we come into land here, some other things that I notice is you have failed downloads. So that is that's where the checkout functionality came into play. There seems to be some connection to a WooCommerce, or WooCommerce has been installed here, and the domain hasn't really been removed because those files could not be loaded. There's something off with this. You need to check this one. And lastly, let's look at the timings breakdown. It looks pretty good. You have a solid time to first byte, first paint after 1.2 seconds. So that is the perceived loading time when people see something happening in their browsers. That's the first paint. And then onload is 3.4 seconds, which is not terrible, but for a site that is as small as yours, you definitely have some headroom and can definitely improve here. Back to you, Lee.
Awesome. Folks, thanks so much. I'm aware we have gone a little bit over time. If you're watching the replay and you got this far, type in a replay. And what we would love, this video will now be live for the rest of the month. So let's visit these sites. And I would love it if you could share in the comments over the next few weeks what your thoughts are on the sites, how you think the site owners could improve, and what's inspired you for your website. And if you do make some changes in your website based on any of the advice that we've given over the last hour, then please do share a link in the comments as well. We would love to check out what you do. Let's just remind you all, we looked at the Yakbot site, we also looked at Alethicult, and we also looked at Mr. Alabi. So thank you, everybody, for submitting your websites. If you want your website to be reviewed, check out the Cloudways page on Facebook, and that will tell you how you can submit your website. If you are not a member of the Cloudways users group, please type in Cloudways users into Facebook and come and join us, because we're forever sharing value in there as well. All that's left for us to do is to do the little how to connect with us. I believe, Jan, you want to share something from Dennis as well. So let's start with you, Jan, if possible.
Yep, let's go ahead. So I would love to spread the word for a good friend of mine. That's Dennis Yu. He runs Blitzmetrics, and he's an amazing marketer, easily one of the smartest people I know around the globe. And he has some family tragedy that he needs to raise money for. And instead of just asking for donations, what he's done is he has put together a 1,200-page PDF, or a couple of PDFs, with all the processes, everything he uses in his digital marketing agency, Blitzmetrics, where they work with brands like Nike, Adidas, Rosetta Stone, Ashley Furniture, run their marketing campaigns for them, and help other agencies scale along the way. So they are very big in working with these big brands, but also training others how to build digital marketing agencies. And he has put together what he calls the master presentation, which retails for $9.97, I think, usually, but I think he discounted it. Yeah, so it's $400 right now. So as I said, it is usually not for sale. It's just because he needs to raise money to pay for cancer bills, because his mom is diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. That obviously gets very expensive. So if you're in the market for scaling your agency and you need some training around this, or you want to start your agency, it doesn't get any better than this one. That's
awesome. What's the URL for that?
themasterpresentation.com.
Awesome. If you could post a link in the comments, and then we can pin that one to this, that would be fantastic. And how can people connect with you, buddy?
I have a group on Facebook called WP Mastery, which is the best way to reach out to me.
Awesome. Peter, how can people connect with you?
Same here, the Design for Geeks group on Facebook.
Awesome. And if you want to see this handsome face, check out the Agency Trailblazer Facebook group and the Agency Trailblazer podcast in any podcast player of your choice. Folks, now that's left for us to do is the cheesy wave.
Quick thing, Lee. You've got something. You've got something going on too.
Oh, it's all right. I'll share that another day. Let's keep,
Okay.
let's keep people guessing. Take care. Cheers.